Hi guys, today we're going to be doing a stat breakdown of Vettori vs Cannonier, looking at opponent records, striking accuracy, knockdowns, wrestling stats, predictions, and much more. So let's get into it. First, looking at records, Vettori is 9 wins and 4 losses going into the fight, whilst Cannonier is 9 wins and 6 losses. It's evident that Vettori has a much better win-loss ratio, so let's look at the quality of the opponents they've faced. Vettori's opponents have a combined UFC record of 133 wins and 59 losses, whereas Cannonier's opponents have a combined UFC record of 167 wins and 86 losses. If we compare the win-loss ratios, they're almost the same, indicating they've faced on average the same quality of opponents in their career. If we compare the record of the opponents each of these fighters have defeated, we can see that the opponents Vettori has beaten have a combined UFC record of 56 wins and 40 losses, whereas the opponents Cannonier have beaten have a record of 95 wins and 57 losses. It's clear that the opponents Cannonier has beaten have a better win-loss ratio, indicating that Cannonier has actually beaten the better opponents on average in the octagon. But if we look at the record of the fighters that have defeated each of these fighters, for Vettori their combined record is 48 wins and 14 losses, whereas for Cannonier it's 72 wins and 29 losses. Looking at the win-loss ratios, it's evident that both of these fighters on average lose to extremely tough opponents, with Vettori losing to tougher opponents since he's fought Adesanya twice. Looking at the methods of victory for these fighters, Vettori has only 2 finishes, both by submission, whereas all other 7 wins were by decision. On the other hand, Cannonier has only won 3 decisions but has an enormous 6 knockout victories. If we look at the loss methods of these fighters, Vettori has only lost by decision and has never been finished, whilst Cannonier has lost 4 decisions as well as being KO'd twice, once at heavyweight and once at light heavyweight. Looking at the general striking stats, Cannonier has a moderately better striking accuracy than Vettori at 50% and also has a slightly better striking defense of 61% compared to 59% for Vettori. However, Vettori is slightly more active on the feet. Looking at significant strike accuracy for Vettori, we can see that 3 of his 4 losses has been when his striking accuracy was 32% or below. Therefore, making him miss is key to beating him. Looking at Vettori's opponent's significant strike accuracy, we can see his only 3 wins and 3 losses when his striking defense is below 60%, and his 6 wins and 1 loss when his striking defense is above 60%, so he wins a majority of the time when his striking defense is solid. Now, looking at Cannonier's striking accuracy, his 6 wins and 2 losses when he strikes above 50% accuracy, and his only 3 wins and 4 losses when striking below 50% accuracy. If we look at Cannonier's striking defense or his opponent's striking accuracy, we can see there's no clear trend, and therefore, his own significant strike accuracy is much more important. Therefore, the striking battle comes down to Cannonier's accuracy versus Vettori's defense. Looking at knockdowns for Vettori, we can see he only has 1 career knockdown and it did not result in a finish, so Vettori finishing this fight is very unlikely. But if we look at Vettori's opponents, we can see he's never been knocked down despite fighting Costa, Whittaker and Adesanya twice. Therefore, it's unlikely we're going to see Vettori stopped by a knockout. Cannonier has been a killer at middleweight, with 4 knockdowns in 8 middleweight fights and has a 100% win rate with a knockdown. But looking at his opponents, Cannonier has been knocked down 5 times in his career. However, he has never been knocked out at middleweight despite being knocked down twice, so it's unlikely we'll see Vettori also get his first knockout. If we compare the grappling stats, we can see Vettori has an edge around the board, with significantly more takedowns attempted per 15 minutes, a much higher takedown accuracy, a moderately better takedown defense, and more submission attempts per 15 minutes. If we look at takedowns for Vettori, we can see he lands takedowns in most of his fights and a 66% win rate with a takedown landed. We can also see he ragdolled Holland with 11 takedowns for the fight. Vettori has been taken down in only 5 of his 14 fights, although he does have a 3-2 win-loss record when taken down. Therefore, getting Vettori down is a valid way of beating him since he's conceded a takedown in half of his losses. If we look at takedowns for Cannonier, he has only landed 2 takedowns in his career, and it's very, very unlikely we'll see him wrestle Vettori. Cannonier has been taken down himself in 7 different fights. However, he's never lost at middleweight when he's been taken down, so simply taking Cannonier down is not enough to beat him for Vettori. Looking at control time now, we can see Vettori has 2 minutes or more control time in 10 of his 14 fights, meaning not only does he take people down, but he also holds his opponents down too, although he does have a 6-3 record with 2+ minutes of control time. Whereas looking at control time for Vettori's opponents, he was controlled early in his career, although since then he's been controlled for a max of 47 seconds after conceding a takedown, so he does not get held down anymore. On the other hand, Cannonier gets very little control time and only has 1 minute of control time on 2 separate occasions in the UFC. But if we look at his opponents, they've held him down for 2+ minutes on 7 different occasions, handing him 3 losses. To summarise the key points of this fight, Vettori has had 2+ minutes of control time in 10 of his 14 fights, whereas Cannonier has had 3 of his 6 losses when controlled for 2 minutes or more. Therefore, Vettori can wrestle his way towards victory. Cannonier has had 5 of 9 wins in the UFC with a knockdown in the fight, whereas Vettori has never been knocked down or even finished. Therefore, Cannonier will not be able to rely on a finish on the feet. However, Vettori has had 3 of 4 losses occurring when his striking accuracy is below 32%, and Cannonier's opponents average 39% strike accuracy on him, which is really low. Therefore, making Vettori miss whilst also being accurate himself is what Cannonier needs to do to win. My predictions for this fight are either Vettori has success with wrestling, landing 3+ takedowns and winning a 49-46 decision. But if Cannonier can keep it on the feet and make Vettori miss, I see him working towards a 48-47 victory. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, comment, do all the good things. I said comment twice, I know, and I'll see you next time. See ya.